So I want to underscore that Centennial is a proposed project. And given the environment in California, when you are considering any water project of any size, that takes years, in many cases decades of analysis. And you are not successful on every project you analyze. In fact, the converse is true. Most analyzed projects don't make it to the finish line, just because the process today is so exacting. Centennial is just one example of potential water supply projects under review by NID. And it will be, in my opinion, it should be one of the options that the stakeholders, you folks, consider when you embark on a raw water master plan process. So given our regulatory environment, given our laws, the length of the planning horizon and the regulatory and legal burdens just mean that projects, you never know quite which project's going to be implemented. I firmly believe this, that if name the project, if it's Centennial, if it's meadow restoration, if it's some other project that NID is considering, if it goes through the analysis and it doesn't make the cut, it's not going to make it. So in this bullet example, if Centennial is ultimately determined not to be necessary, we're not going to get through the hearing. We're not going to get through that gauntlet of approvals I listed on the screen. It'll fail under its own merit. Last point, the raw water master plan process, the update, will help inform and focus NID's water supply and demand projects for the coming decades. So I feel strongly about this. At this early stage, we should not be elevating one project or approach or solution. We shouldn't elevate them, we shouldn't exclude them. It should be wide open. And I heard Ms. Booth say she's concerned about introducing bias into the raw water master plan process. I'm concerned about that too, but I'm concerned in the opposite way. If you take action today to preclude Centennial or any Bear River surface water project, that introduces bias into the process. That precludes that as an option for consideration in the raw water master plan process. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Debbie Martin. I'm the controller for Nevada Irrigation District. Here I am. I'd like to speak to item 7, the lack of fiscal transparency. The claim is that NID has a lack of fiscal transparency and that we have a history of irresponsible spending. So I'd like to speak a little bit about the fiscal transparency portion first and give the public some information on where you can find our financial information easily and quickly. First, if you move to our NID website at nidwater.com, you'll find on the home page there's financial documents. And if you will move to that page, you'll see a series of reports that we work on every single year. We have our board-approved budgets. That's an annual process, a rather lengthy process. And each board-approved budget from the years of 2015 through 2018 are listed on the website. As well, NID is obligated and mandated actually by government code to perform an independent audit of our financial statements by an independent certified public accounting firm. The prior audits from 2014 through the most recent one that we just released, 2017, are also on the website. That particular report is extremely important because those audits are a presentation of the results of our operations. How did we do in the fiscal year, and where are we going with our finances? It's a very, especially lately with our CAFR reports that we just had completed in the last 3 years, very extensive reporting, not only for the finances, but history of the district, finances, economic outlook, statistics. and as well recommendations from our auditors of how we can improve our financial reporting. As well, on the website are our Board of Director archived meetings. As you know, if you've attended any of our meetings, we have staff reports with related supporting documentation for each of the objects or items that are brought before the board for decision making. The public can go to those archived board meetings and click on a staff report and pull up the archived meetings and staff reports and minutes for each of those board meetings. And I know that a lot of public does access that because I can hear the information coming in even tonight's presentations. I use those myself a lot in my research and analysis for work that we're doing in the Finance and Accounting Division. As well, every Board of Director meeting, we provide a lot of information as well for you to manage where we're spending our money. So every board meeting, there is a check register report. It's called the warrants, and the board must approve those warrants. That is the district's check register. That particular report is very long, and it has every single check by vendor, by check number, where that check was expensed to the proper budget account, the project or facility number it related to, if it relates to a project or facility, as well as a brief description and the dollar amount of that check. So that is every single board meeting we present that. As well, we provide a project and facility report. That is a report by month and year to date of all the expenses that have been accumulated in this year for every project and every facility. We also provide a payroll certification report. That is a report that summarizes the amount of the wages that have been paid since the last board meetings. Last, we provide an investment transaction report, and this is a report of our investment activities that have occurred since the last board meeting. If any of our long-term investments have been called or matured, or we made investments, then it would be detailed on that report. As well, for Board of Directors meetings, every quarter, we provide a budget to actual report, and that's our district's presentation of where are we spending our money and is it in line with our budget. That report has the total approved budget to date, all of the expenditures that have been incurred to date, all of the purchase orders or encumbrances, what we're committed to spend to our vendors before they have provided their services and supplies to us, and then the percent of budget spent to date. Every quarter that is provided. Annually, we present to the board our budget, our approved budget, and then our independent financial statement report. And as I mentioned, we just completed our 2017 report last month. We also, on occasion, will have special presentations to educate the public and staff and the board on specific financial topics. Most recently, we provided a very extensive special presentation on our reserves. That was on February 28th of 18. If you go to our website to that board meeting, you will find that presentation and all of the detail that was provided in that reserves workshop. That particular report has a lot of data about not only our reserves, but how our accounting structure is prepared, how our budget is prepared, timelines for our financial reporting obligations. I would encourage you to go to that report to educate yourself on our obligations. Next slide, please. I'd like to speak to the Centennial audit report. There are some concerns about that there was a difference in the staff reports that were published in July and in August. So we completed our Centennial audit at the same time we were completing our year-end audit. And there was an attachment in the first report in July that was presenting the rental income and expenses for the projects, the rental properties that Doug spoke about earlier. And on that particular schedule, there was an amount in the 2015 expense column for the rental, and we located an error in the report. The report was first published in July, but since we did not have a lack of quorum for that report, it was moved to August. During that interim period, staff took additional time to review that in more detail and worked with the auditors. We identified a small typo on one of the schedules. It resulted in a $13,000 error. So as you can see on the screen, the number that was listed for expenses in 2015 for the Magnolia and Clifford properties listed those expenses as $14,470.43. The actual number should have been $1,470.43. So a simple typo error of an additional 4 in that line item. As well, as I mentioned, we were also doing the year-end audit. We identified an additional expenditure of $432.74 that should have been included in the 2017 expenses for those rental properties, and we increased that and changed those schedules. So since the whole entire report and schedules for Centennial was all about Centennial, those 2 errors pushed through every single schedule in the whole entire report. So yes, the number changed between the July and August because of these errors. Now, there's also an attachment G where we listed the properties that had been purchased for Centennial. At the time that the July report was prepared, there were several properties that the auditors had as no cost listed yet. And that is because we were performing a tracing of our cash disbursements. So we searched, accounting and finance staff searched for every single check, every single transaction to fully support the purchase price so we could be on point with how much each of those properties purchased. During that gap between July and August, we were able to take the additional time to fully trace the rest of those cash disbursements to the source documents to fill in those gaps. So we took advantage of that to expand our disclosures. Next screen, please. The final report that was issued and prepared for presentation on the August 22nd board meeting was expanded. The staff report included additional information and actually provided to the public expanded disclosures than we first did in the July report. So the July report at the time did provide responses to public requests for information, but we had decided that it would also be helpful to the public if we also provided responses to the auditor's findings in the Centennial audit. So we added those findings and added those responses to those findings. We also included additional support and authorization for in the closed session meetings, warrants, approval of minutes for the 2015 $525,000 budget amendment that had been stated in the Centennial audit that we were missing. So we did provide the additional support that amendment was in fact approved by the board. We just had a technical issue with putting it into our financial system, but we did provide the support to the auditors that it was in fact approved by the board. The last piece that we expanded in that report was to provide the auditor's PowerPoint presentation of the findings of the audit and the high points in testing of the audit. And with that, go to the next screen. These are some of the particular pieces of the Centennial audit. This is a rather extensive project. The scope of work for this audit was at 100% testing. So while we were performing our year-end audit, we were also working on this Centennial audit. Our auditors tested 3,589 vendor payments and 44 journal entries, recording all of the project costs for Centennial. So the Centennial costs that they tested were $11,254,932. The total non-Centennial cost tested was $22 million. The total Centennial project cost were $11,925,041 as of December 31st, 17. So the auditors actually ended up testing 94% of the Centennial cost and verified that the items that we had been reporting out and providing in our cost accounting system was accurate. There were only 2 invoices that the auditors noted that we were unable to provide, unfortunately, and they were an invoice for $240 and an invoice for $9.73. We're probably on a staff member's desk or something in a analysis report, but out of all of those payments, to have only those 2 items missing is very, very small. Next page, please.
Yeah, this is not production. Get it over with. Yeah. I don't know if this is production.
We want to have an opportunity for the board to ask questions of NID staff in this booth. If we want to move on to public comment, we can do that. We'll have public comment now. I'd like to.
What does everybody want?